Hello, my name's Nicholas Good, and I've been involved in the management and training delivery of customer service in various different guises in the UK and globally for around 30 years. I've also been a training associate with MSB for nearly 10 years. By anybody's standards, the COVID pandemic poses one of the greatest challenges the human race as a whole has ever faced. And it impacts at every level of human existence: health and well-being, economics, culturally, business, education, hospitality, travel. The list is endless. Given my background in the customer service business, the advent of COVID-19 started me thinking about the service industry in general and how we as leaders and managers involved in the service delivery business across the entire spectrum might change the challenges of working in a COVID-secure environment into opportunities for even greater business success, improved employee engagement, and even levels of customer satisfaction. I started to consider approaching the challenges in the following ways, focusing firstly on a brief exploration of the general impact of COVID-secure regulations on customer service. I preface this always by saying it is essential to follow the government guidelines. Here I'll just be exploring how we work successfully alongside them. Also looking at identifying any appropriate adjustments to service style behaviours that might mitigate the impact of the COVID-19 regulations. Looking at identifying any additional COVID-focused business development functions and key leadership activities. Also identifying what managers might reasonably expect of team members in the new normal, and how to implement and further develop appropriate support structures for your team members. So what impact do the government-led COVID-secure measures and the new normal have on your team's ability to deliver consistent, uniquely individual service excellence to your customers? Generally speaking, the new normal looks a bit like this. We've got visors, got face masks, we've got heightened social anxiety. Staff are involved in unfamiliar roles. Customers are having to deal with unfamiliar regulations. There's a sense of lack of control, a sense of regulations being imposed, normal freedoms being removed. While absolutely most people, certainly in my experience, accept all of that and realize the importance of observing the regulations, there's still that quiet sense of unease. All of these things seriously impact upon and handicap the usual processes of human communications and interaction. From the customer perspective, we can no longer see smiles on the people providing our service. We're not sure what's going on under the masks. There's new unfamiliar routines in restaurants, on aircraft, in airports, on buses, on trains, in the bank. And these can lead to some unpredictable behavior on the part of the customer. I have seen it lead to some aggressive responses. Certainly heightened anxiety is very prevalent, and the sense of unease, which I spoke about earlier, a lack of control, a sense of a lack of control, and lots of misunderstanding of verbal communications due to masks inhibiting the flow of language. From the staff perspective too, staff are working in very unfamiliar territory, which may lead to exactly the same changes in behavior. Increased anxiety, unfamiliar regulations and routines, uncomfortable safety equipment, making people self-conscious, leading again to unpredictable behavior, some aggressive responses, a degree of distraction, and can lead to staff members being and feeling unfocused. Some or all of these behaviours have been most noticeable in my recent experience at the welcome or greeting stage of customer service interactions. They can and obviously do impede normal service interactions at all stages of the service. So what adjustments might we implement to ensure the highest quality of interpersonal communications between staff, members and customers are maintained in this new COVID secure environment? How do your team members continue to deliver warm, friendly, welcoming service? How do they continue to listen, anticipate, and recognize customer needs? How do they acknowledge, empathize, and engage with customers effectively while still adhering to the COVID secure regulations? I believe that the case for your teams to demonstrate these qualities and behaviors is even greater now, given the challenging service delivery environment we currently work in. I also believe that the need for outstanding service quality was never more pressing, and will, in the new normal, will prove to be the absolute hallmark of any service business that has any hope of survival in the current climate. So firstly, what do we need to do as managers? Firstly, I think the most important thing is to focus on absolute clarity, sharing information with teams consistently and concisely. I think daily, informal, motivating management briefings combined with staff listening forums for the whole team are really effective. They can be used for updating business priorities, sharing customer feedback, highlighting any necessary changes to processes and procedures driven by the customer and staff feedback, and by changing business priorities. It has to take the form of a two-way discussion with staff, allowing the staff and the management to interact in an informal way and share their experiences. Secondly, I think it is really important for the management team to role model emotionally intelligent behaviors. Managers should work in a way that demonstrates heightened sensitivity to employee needs, maintaining human, honest interactions with team members, demonstrating empathy and understanding, listening, noticing verbal and non-verbal behaviors and behavioral indicators, responding and not reacting in the current environment are more important than ever. Picking up on individuals' contributions and level of engagement and offering support wherever necessary are equally more important than ever. It is really important too to recognize good performance and motivate team members, particularly in this time when a lot of staff members are feeling vulnerable or insecure or confused. Take time out to do this. Regularly check in on individual well-being and morale of your team members. It is important at all times to demonstrate full engagement with your team, to notice, to anticipate, and to support. You will, of course, have noticed already that what I've described above mirrors almost exactly the types of behaviours that you would expect your individual members, team members, to demonstrate to your customers. Let me quickly talk through them in the context of customer service delivery. Again, focus on absolute clarity. The staff members should be sharing clear, concise information about new unfamiliar procedures with the customers, leaving time for questions, particularly important at the greeting or the welcome stage, offering reassurance at the outset, and checking the customer's understanding. I've noticed in my recent experience that it's really important for staff members to possibly speak a little more slowly and project their voices more than normal, clearly articulating what they're saying, as masks and visors may well hinder the clarity of verbal communication, as I mentioned before. Masks also, very obviously, obscure smiles, so maintaining effective eye contact and smiling with the eyes is all the more important. These guidelines are particularly relevant to the initial customer welcome, as I said. First impressions are, as ever, important, and they are very useful at this stage for calming customer anxieties. Again, from the staff perspective, demonstrating emotionally intelligent behavior. Really key to demonstrate a heightened sensitivity to customer needs. Human, honest interactions again with the customers, using positive language, demonstrating empathy, understanding and reassurance. Listening, noticing verbal and non-verbal behaviors and indicators in the customers as they arrive on the premises. Responding to them, not reacting, and offering support. It is, of course, very important to recognize and understand that customer behaviors may be more unpredictable than usual due to heightened anxiety and in some cases fear. It could well be the first time, their first outing, their first social outing since being locked at home. And you will have gathered by now that one of the key things in my view would be making sure that a distinct and recognizable welcome is provided for all customers the minute they arrive on the premises or the establishment. Being noticeably proactive, observing, anticipating, and being creative are very, very useful things to be demonstrating at this time of high anxiety. Clearly what I've been describing here was the bread and butter of day-to-day service excellence in the pre-COVID era. Wherever and whenever service to the customer was being delivered, my conclusion from my recent experience of service is it's even more critical to success that these key constituents of service excellence occupy the forefront of every team member's mind. They are literally key to business survival. In this way, ironically, I am convinced that the pandemic provides a perfect opportunity to raise both team performance levels and service delivery standards, rather than an excuse to lower standards and cut corners. Companies who choose the latter path, I would suggest, are unlikely to survive in the current climate. I am reminded, of course, of a consistently successful Far Eastern airline, which always expanded their staff training and development programs at times of business turndown, unlike many companies in the West. So having looked at the challenges, how can you, as a manager, ensure that your teams understand what is expected of them in the new normal working environment? Well, above all, of course, staff should be provided with all the necessary PPE equipment and kept regularly updated on current government COVID secure guidelines. I have found that the introduction of customer service refresher training is incredibly important, using it to recap communication skills, listening and questioning techniques, for example, introducing and recapping assertiveness training, also taking the opportunity to review how to manage challenging customer scenarios and situations, and recapping service recovery models and techniques is also very important. Additionally, introducing simple business updates, short impromptu discussion forums at lunchtimes or in tea breaks, sharing information and inviting staff input. I think as a manager, it's very important to make ongoing individual support for all team members in this current environment available and accessible. This could this could actually be, for example, more frequent one-to-ones if you have time. Certainly more informal individual updates and discussions with your team members, checking on individual understanding of the new processes and supporting development where necessary. As a manager, making informal visits to restrooms, coffee bars and the like are perfect vehicles for this type of activity and demonstrates really positive engagement and support for your team. Thank you for listening. I hope that you'll find my observations useful, and good luck in the future.